Hi, good afternoon. My name is Muditambira Vere. Hi, my name is Muditambira Vere. I'm the chairperson and the founder of South African Women in Sport Foundation. Today is a very exciting day for women in sport because of it's our day that we are celebrating our medalist women who made us excited and started conversation in the country because of they performed very well during the Olympics. And it was also great for us for us to talk about medals from Olympics coming from women, and also from the Paralympics, more women coming again with medals, which made us a little bit excited. So again, just to close up the Olympics, we thought this month we need to celebrate them and hear their stories, their challenges whilst they were preparing for the Olympics and Paralympics, their successes, what does the medal mean to them, and a whole lot of other issues that they would love to share with us. But on the other hand, I just want to thank you all who followed us in all our webinars, to thank you for joining and celebrating with us these women who I'm not going to introduce. Velen is going to have an opportunity to introduce them. And the Velen is not new in our platforms, so Velen would be taking over from here. But thank you so much for accepting our invite, and over to you, Velen.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Tambi. I am really excited about today because not only is it a Friday, so there's reason to celebrate, but also the fact that we are celebrating our medalists that brought us so much joy as a country. And I see you nodding your head vigorously. I said it earlier on, you know, we selfishly as South Africans get to take all the glory. We get to celebrate the hard work of others. And it's so wonderful that this year in particular, we really had our women standing up, and what humble, amazing human beings they are. All right, thank you so much. So without further ado, let us introduce you to our medalists that will be joining our panel today. Thank you to each and every single person that has joined us on our live stream for this afternoon. Before I bring you our guests, let me just recognize our gold medalists. First from the Paralympic Games, Anne-Renee Veyers in the 400 meters, and then gold and silver medalist and world record holder Tatiana Schoenmaker, who unfortunately can't be with us today. But we have got for you a wonderful trio, and they're joining us from all over the country, quite literally. I'm in Gauteng. We've got in Vic Bay, Bianca Buitendag, who won silver at the Olympic Games in the sport of surfing, surprising everyone. I called it a silver swan song because it was her final major competition, and what a way to go out by winning an Olympic silver medal. Bianca Buitendag, just give us a wave there. All the way from Vic Bay. And then we've got Luzanne Coetzee. She is a Paralympic silver and bronze medalist. These are two events that many sports scientists will tell you you can't double up on. They're not two events that you would ordinarily medal in. But Luzanne Coetzee did exactly that, and she broke the world record in the T11 marathon event. She won silver in the 1,500 meters. Just a couple of days later, over 42.2 kilometers, won the silver medal with her guide. Luzanne Coetzee is joining us from Bloemfontein. Give us a wave, Luzanne. And we have got Cheryl James, who set 2-3 African records while she was at the Paralympic Games in the T37 category. That's the category for cerebral palsy athletes. And she won a bronze medal over 400 meters. She joins us from Louis Trichardt. Also give us a wave, Cheryl. Thank you to each and every single one of you for giving us some of your time so that we can get to hear your stories and hear what it's been like just a couple of weeks following the success. So Bianca, I'm going to start with you because it's been a little bit longer for it to actually settle in, and you've had so many different engagements. Did you quite think that life was going to change this much after your performance in Tokyo?
No, to be honest, my life hasn't changed, but all the media commitments and stuff once I returned was way above my batting average, I would say. I'm used to hiding here in the garden route with not much attention, but I've been up to Joburg more than I have in my entire life over the last month or so. But I'm not complaining. It's a good problem to have, and I'm obviously very fortunate and grateful for the support from my fellow South Africans.
Lizanne, just how much did life change? Did it at all for you?
It definitely did, Valen. I also in a good way. I had to come straight back to work after the games, so kind of like back to reality, but not exactly in the same way. I remember the day that I landed. We landed at 5:30 in the evening. The next morning, I was off to Joburg to go to Toyota. So things have really changed in a positive way. And also just support, like really appreciating the support from South Africa as a whole and from the media and from everybody.
Cheryl, you are from Louis Trichardt, and you also got involved in sport, certainly on a national level, quite late in life. So it must be for you also it has been quite a baptism of fire almost, just the way that things have just unfolded for you and now culminated with this bronze medal at the Paralympic Games. How's life changed for you, if at all?
Life is pretty normal in normal sense, but I definitely have got a lot more attention.
Focus online team.
Yeah.
Crazy castle in the green edge. Shop online grid diameter 46 centimeters. I'm cooking it.
You can continue. I'm not too sure. We seem to have had a little bit of other audio bleeding in, but go ahead, Cheryl.
Okay. Yeah. No. It has changed quite some. I'm definitely not used to all the attention that I'm getting, media and just locally. I have become something of a celebrity here in Louis Trichardt, which, well, in a small town, apparently I'm the first athlete in my province who has come home with a medal in at least a long time anyway. So for the province, it's been quite a big thing.
Yeah. Can you tell us what it was like, that kind of homecoming? Because we all know the big national stuff, but it's almost as if when you actually go back to your roots, back to the place and the people that know you on a daily basis, that the impact of what you've done seems to really hit home. It certainly seemed that way with Peter de Preer, another medalist from the Paralympic Games. He says that it really sunk in when he got back home and the streets of Sunninghill were lined with people, and then all of a sudden he was really like, wow, okay, this is what I actually did, and this is what it really means. Can you tell us a little bit about, for you, Cheryl? You mentioned that you're a celebrity now in Louis Trichardt and in your province.
Yeah, I mean, when you're competing, you don't think anything of it. You're just competing and trying to do the very best that you can. So yes, coming home to something of a parade, where they were waiting for me on the streets. It's a great feeling, and it gives you a great sense of pride that you actually come from where you are, and these are your people, and absolutely love you and adore you and are proud for what you've achieved. So yeah, they like you said, accept the glory for our achievements, and mine specifically was very great for them. Yeah.
So what was happening in Louis Tricot? Did it have the biggest party ever?
No, well, it wasn't a great big party, but we certainly got the people going on a Sunday afternoon, which was something, and from all walks of life and different cultures, everybody there together, which was really special for everybody to see. Everyone from all parts of the community, your Afrikaners and your vendors and your Indians as well. It was just a genuine rainbow nation kind of welcoming home, which was really great.
So did people come with boxes of Cook Sisters and Avos as a celebration?
No, they kept it low key on that end. But yeah, there were big smiles and lots of waves and lots of noise. Yeah.
What was the coolest congratulations that you got?
I don't know. I mean, they drove me through town on an electric Jeep, which was quite cool. Yeah.
On an electric Jeep?
Yeah, apparently it's an electrical thing. Yeah, so it doesn't run on fuel. Yeah. They didn't do any donuts, though. I don't know why. But anyway.
It had something to do with the electric motor.
Probably, yeah. It's not strong enough.
Bianca, what was the most memorable congratulations that you received? Because I'm sure that you've got like a very similar story about, returning home to the garden route. Is there anything that really stands out for you?
Yes, so I would say my favorite moment of the Olympics was not necessarily standing on the podium, but more going through the arrivals hall at George Domestic Airport. As you can imagine, I come from a really small town as well, and I felt like the whole town rocked up. We had all the kids, all the surfing community, and the kids made this little arch out of surfboards right out of the arrivals hall. And then when I got to the end of the tunnel, an organization that I've been a part of for a long time, they had their choir come out. So they must be under 10 years old, and they sang a song for me. So I think that's where I cracked, and all the emotions. I thought I was depleted of emotions, but I was mistaken. And then I think the same as Cheryl, they put me on the back of a bakkie, and the whole traffic department pretty much drove me through town. Which was actually quite ironic because it's so quiet on a Saturday afternoon, but I was waving at whoever was waving back. It was a wonderful, wonderful moment, and something I'll never forget.
I can imagine. And Lizanne, for you, what was your standout moment? Lizanne, I think you may be on mute. Just
camera mute mic.
No, we can't hear you now, although I can see that you're trying to talk to us. Try one more time. No? There we go. There we go. Now we can hear you.
Sure. I have to say it's very difficult to pinpoint one specific moment. The coming back was very overwhelming. It was really, really cool because a lot of my colleagues and friends and family came to the airport to surprise me. I really did. I expected my parents to be there and maybe like if one or two people, but then there was like a whole party going on outside. And in Bloem, I don't know, our Tambo is not that tense. I don't know about George, but so nobody's allowed to go into the Bloemfontein airport. And Klaus and I came back alone, and here we were trying to deal with like 9 or 10 bags, and here's a party going on outside. It was quite hectic. I think another really standout moment for me was after the marathon. Look, the marathon really was a shock, I think, for me and for Klaus, as well as for everyone else. but I think it was just as big as a shock for us. So we initially told everybody, they can just come around 10 to the track and then we'll finish and then we're just going to go back home. And so at a point, obviously, people must have realized, okay, we were going to come third. And then I think really a very standout congratulatory moment for me was after the race, one of the media ladies, Maputi is her name. So she was one of the South African media liaisons at the games. And she was so emotional, and it was such a special moment for me seeing her there after the race, and just the way that it touched her. That was really a very special moment for me if I had to think back now. So basically the coming home and then that moment was really the standouts for me.
And how did you stay warm on that open top bus ride through Gauteng, through Pretoria and Joburg?
No, it was hectic. I wouldn't lie. I don't know how the rest felt, but I was pretty cold and winded, for lack of a better word. It was pretty windy.
But it has been quite an incredible response from South Africans. And Bianca, I think you may have felt this a little bit more than anybody else, but how did you feel about the furore around actual cash incentives and cash bonuses? Because you guys, being the Olympic medalists, were the first actually to feel it, when everybody was asking, but now, what are you actually going to give as reward to Tatiana and to Bianca for winning these medals at the Olympic Games?
To be honest, initially, it was my first Olympics. I didn't know that medal incentives actually exist. So I was just so over the moon coming home with a medal. I didn't really pay much attention to the financial contributions. I was away with my family for a week, and then someone called and said, are you in tune with the media about the Olympic incentives? I'm like, what? The first time I've heard about it. But just to, in long story short, just to say that we don't do sport for financial gain. Obviously, we do it for passion, and if that was your intention, I think you would be disappointed a long time ago. But I mean, the way that the minister has stepped up, and the event that they held for us, being on top of a bus through Johannesburg, I mean, that would have never happened in my life otherwise. And we're just so grateful. I think I can speak on behalf of all the athletes, just for even the small forms of support, like a phone call or a message, and then to the other extreme, the financial support that the government has given us. We're just extremely grateful. But initially, I didn't expect that specifically, but I'm pleasantly surprised.
Lizanne, you received a financial reward. In fact, everybody did, from Toyota as well as the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. What is your money going to be going towards, or have you spent it yet? Is there a beautiful new house there in Bloemfontein? Can you share with us?
I'm not sure, Valen, to be honest. I haven't really decided. I think last week it obviously was the pinnacle, of all the media and all the final events. So I'm just trying to settle back in. So I haven't really decided. Obviously that money will be split. The guides obviously received coaching incentives, but we will obviously split all the money three-way. But other than that, I can't really tell you. I'm not sure yet myself.
And Cheryl, for you, seeing though your sports journey, which we'll talk a little bit about, and how you got involved in sport in your 30s, and it's just been this wonderful ability that you found late in life, but South Africa is certainly reaping the rewards of it. For you, how important was the financial reward?
It's just something to be really thankful for, and I'm just really thankful for whatever assistance they have given.
Okay, Cheryl, I want to know a little bit about the story, because I don't think a lot of people know it. You are a farmer in Limpopo, and you got involved in sports in your 30s. I mean, most people find the sport that they're really good at much younger in life. And then all of a sudden you were representing South Africa at the World Championships, and then it was the Paralympic Games. Do you want to take us through your journey?
So it's a short, long story, actually. Yeah. No. So I have been doing sport my whole life. I've just been doing different kinds of sport. I grew up playing a sport called polocrosse. So it's a game you play. It's a team sport that you play on horseback, and it's a combination of like netball and rugby on the back of a horse. So I have been playing
Netball
sport
and rugby.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
Because you throw a ball in a net and score goals. Yeah, you got to see it to understand it. But
Wow. Okay.
yeah, it's quite fun. And but I started running marathons in 2010. I started training for the Comrades, and while I was training for the Comrades, my physio made a statement, and she said, "No, Cheryl, if you ever go to the Paralympics, I want to be your physio." So that was back in 2011, and I thought, yeah, sure, why not? But in my head, I was going, who starts their sprinting career at 25? So that was more than 10 years ago. And in 2018, my mom and I were looking for something to do, and we spoke with 2 physios in our area, and we discovered the need for development for athletics in our area for disabled sport. And it sort of went from there. I who don't speak on a phone very often, made contact with Isability in Gauteng, and the rest is history. I think, like you say, it just sort of one thing happened, and here we are just after the Paralympics. Yeah.
Wow. And you never let your disability stop you. I mean, polocrosse, a combination of netball and rugby. If that isn't mind-blowing enough, then you do it on the back of a horse. I mean, like, it seems like it takes somebody quite brave to actually do that. And then considering your physical disability, people would assume that maybe you would actually shy away from doing certain things, but you were super courageous. Polocrosse, and then even the goal of Comrades Marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, it is something, but I don't think I've ever considered myself disabled. I didn't know. So yeah.
When you say you didn't know, explain that.
Well, look, I knew that there was something wrong with me, but I didn't look in the mirror and go, oh, hey, there's a disabled person in the mirror. I saw Cheryl in the mirror, and I wanted what I wanted, and I fought for what I wanted, and I was lucky enough to have some of it.
It's incredible. Bianca, let's speak a little bit about your journey, because you've had a long journey when it comes to surfing, with a lot of success, surfing on the world tour for a number of years, winning global awards, and then it culminating in the Olympic Games. Can you take us through your journey with sport and surfing specifically?
So I think I'm on Cheryl's page there, saying that I did every sport possible at school. So I'm not much of a runner, but I mean, I'm good in water. So it was swimming, water polo, biathlon, life saving. I did every possible sport. I think my parents just wanted to exhaust us by the time we got home. But we moved to the Garden Route when I was 12, and my father was a provincial surfer, so he really loved it. And it was more of a family activity over weekends. We would pack the car and go to J Bay or go to Still Bay, and I just really loved the fact that it was constantly changing, like where swimming is always in a lane and you're kind of stuck with that vision. Surfing, it's obviously in the ocean, so you never have, the session is never the same, the heat is never the same, and the wave is never the same. So that variable really excited me, and I think I was just hooked. But in saying that, there was a lot of sacrifice from a family point of view. I had to go overseas at the age of 13 to start competing on an international level to see how I would fare in international competition. And yeah, I think I grew up in quite a conservative Afrikaans household, so sport is great, but you need to study and get a real job. So my parents gave me 1 year off after school because I wasn't too sure what I wanted to study, and they're like, okay, you've got a year. Let's see how it goes. And then 10 years later, here I am. So I guess it went well. But yeah, a lot of sacrifice from my family's side, but I'm sport crazy and specifically crazy about water.
Leander Slambisa saying she's with us watching. Thank you very much. Have you got any questions to pose to the ladies, to Bianca, to Lizanne, or to Cheryl? We'll wait for those questions to come in. Remember, you guys can get involved, whether you just pop your comments underneath on wherever you're watching it. And you can even send questions on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. And then perhaps there's something that's a burning question to you that you'd like to ask our panelists. As we wait for those questions to come in, let's ask Lizanne. Lizanne, your career in sport, because for you, when it comes to running and training, you can't go out training unless you've got a guide that is able to actually come and be there with you. So for you, your sporting journey has always been, as much as maybe it's an individual sport, it's always been more of a team event in a way.
Definitely. So like you explained, I can't run without a guide. So as much as it's my race, it's also his or her race. So it's really always been a question of who wants to, or who is willing to come on the journey with me. And I'm really lucky enough that I've only had great guides and great people to join me on the journey, and I feel so privileged today that I can, each and every one of them, starting from 2012 when I first ran my first 10K up to today after the Paralympics. It's all of the people involved have just been really great, and I feel so fortunate that I could have shared a piece of that journey with everybody.
Were you always a sporty child, Lizanne?
Not at all. So my sporting career actually started by accident. Yeah, that sounds funny. So I was at varsity at the UFS, and one night they were literally looking for volunteers for the first years. We have an annual first years athletics meet every year, and they were looking for volunteers to participate. And I wanted the meeting to be over. So I just said, okay, I'll participate just so that they can get more people so that we can go to bed. And the girl, the student in charge of sport at that point said to me, okay, cool, I'll put your name down. But after the meeting, you need to explain to me how this works. Yeah, my meeting got even longer. And I actually just wanted it to be shorter. But that's actually how I started. And after that, the student and in our residence that was in charge of sports felt so strongly that she got me some coaching, and that's actually how the whole thing started. So it literally was an accident.
Wow. And it's quite incredible, just considering that you're involved in athletics. I mean, you're involved in road running, where, I mean, it's all sport is about mitigating injuries. But the fact that you've almost started later, do you think that may help you? And do you feel like you're just continuing to get better? You haven't quite reached your absolute best yet?
I definitely think, I said to somebody the other day, it feels like my career has only started now. So I think, like, I've been in the background. So my first international competition was in 2013. So I've, consistently heats and finals for 8 years. And I actually think, and like these, being my first medals after 8 years, that's literally because this is not about it's not about the medals or the money. It's literally, I enjoy doing the sport. And for me, I definitely think having started late helps me to still want to do the sport. I feel sad when I see, school kids who at the end of matric get out of a pool, walk off a track and say, I never want to swim or run again. That's really very sad to me, because I think they were pressured at a very young age. And I definitely think, starting late has helped me with that. I don't know what to say to you about injuries. I've had 2 major injuries. Because you obviously also know, being a runner yourself, running is a high impact sport, so injuries is a real thing. I've had 2 injuries, like major injuries, and they definitely were in the latter years of me running. So I definitely think having started late helps with that as well. But I also think to know your own body and to know what's happening in your body and to know yourself also helps with that, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to go back to you saying that, you know, having the passion is something that's so important, and you actually have to maintain that passion in order to be able to continue going. So Cheryl, do you feel that you also are in that space where you're hungry to do more, you're hungry to see just how much better you can get on the track?
Yes, definitely. I definitely love running, won't stop running. Definitely keep it up. And when we started this whole journey sprinting, the motive, or one of the big motives, was to get younger athletes developed as well. So when I am too old and slow, whenever that happens, hopefully I will have some younger athletes that we can push forward to the international competitions. But I will always run, whether it's fast or slow, I will be doing sport.
So Cheryl, has that goal of getting more people involved in sports, especially those with physical disabilities in your community, which was the big motivation for you to get involved, to overcome that hurdle of picking up the phone and actually calling a disabled sports club? Have you seen that? Have you seen the fruits of those efforts of more children getting involved in sports in your area?
We are starting to see it. We are getting a lot of adults involved, a little bit more involved. So it's still at the beginning stages, but we have seen some progression so far. Yeah.
Bianca, for you, I called it a silver swan song, the medal in Tokyo, because for you, this is that the Olympic Games mark the end of your surfing career. And I know you've said it many times, you're going to be concentrating on the work that you do with the nonprofit in the Garden Route area. Was there ever a time where you were like, this may not be the right time? You know, this was completely unexpected. Maybe I should not stop surfing.
No, I think I'm on the same. Luzanne mentioned someone walking off the track at 18 saying never again. I think I started really young. Like I said, the first international trip at 13, thinking I've been competing internationally for longer than I haven't. So it was a bit of a love-hate relationship with me in sport, I would say. Not only the sacrifices, but they kind of rob you of a normal childhood because you're traveling so much, and the amount of pressure and stress and responsibility is unhealthy for a kid at that age. But obviously, I'm very grateful for all the opportunities and the world of possibilities that sport has opened. But I'm very convinced that I'm ready for the next. Yeah, I would say never had a doubt in my mind that it's the right moment. And I feel like a lot of athletes wait too long, so they, out of fear or out of being comfortable, you kind of drag retirement out too long. So it was always important for me to end on a high note, and I felt like I did that. But yeah, now I'm ready for the next chapter of my life, being involved in life community services in George. I think that gives me more fulfillment than a podium finish ever will. So I think I'm on the right track and the right place for now.
So tell us a little bit about the community that you're involved in and the community development. Are you? I know what you're doing. I think it's finally, you are starting a surf school there, and we are going to have this flood of surfers coming from the Garden Route area. No.
Problem is we need to learn to swim first. I mean, that's the issue. No, I'm not starting a surf school. I feel like there's bigger needs that need to be met before we get to that point. But I would love to eventually. No, we have a primary school that was established in 2016. That's fully operational. However, we're in like temporary windy houses. So I'm trying to help fundraise to get them into a facility that reflects the dignity and respect I hope they can see in themselves. So that's my next mission. But the organization branches into many different aspects. They've got a feeding scheme, they've got a foster home, they've got aftercare. We just started a sport facility, which I'm really excited about. So I'm just hoping to get as much support and traction from this.
Nice work.
And yeah, if someone wants to partner, feel more than welcome to check in with me. The kids especially will really appreciate that.
Tell us, what is the name of the organization?
Life Community Services in George. You can say lifecommunity.co.za.
I want to go back to what you said about being really young and giving up a lot and sacrificing a lot of your youth to be able to do the sport that you do. And when you came out the water in Tokyo, you said, that was it. I'm actually done. I can now say it's time. I don't want to do this again. Do you think that we've gotten development in sports, development in elite sport? Do you feel that we've gotten it wrong in certain areas?
I wouldn't say we've gotten it wrong, because different people manage or handle different stresses differently. So I don't think me maybe feeling under pressure at 16, 17 would immediately reflect onto someone else. So I don't think we've got sport development in sport can never go wrong. If the intention is there, that's fantastic. I think it's just, especially, I don't know how to say it, but we were overseas for 10 months out of 12, traveling every 3 weeks. So just being away from the support crew and the culture and what is familiar for so long, I think it just took its toll. But also, I just feel like there's so many challenges in life, and sport is one of many, And I was just ready. You just feel it. You're just ready to move on. Not to say that I will surf for the rest of my life. Like Cheryl said, even if I'm slow, I will be surfing. So my love for the sport has actually doubled since I've stopped doing it competitively. Because now I can only focus on what I love to do, not necessarily a score or a heat time so I've regained that love and passion for the sport. And the salt water is like my therapy. If I stay out of salt water for more than a week, I get jittery. So for everyone's sake, I will stay in the water for the rest of my life.
Cheryl, as we start thinking about those challenges, and as Bianca has shared a couple of her challenges, what would you say has been some of the biggest challenges for you and pursuing your dreams and achieving your goals?
Sure, where does one start? I don't know, hey? I think for me it has been challenging my own mindset and the mindsets of the people around me, and where we are, opportunities aren't so readily available, so we have to travel quite far to be able to compete in anything, and that was like that when we were doing sport as children. So travel has been one of our challenges, but we had great fun traveling to be able to compete.
Lizanne, for you, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges and that you've personally experienced, other than having very long meetings that you wanted to get out of?
No, I definitely think a big challenge for all, is, I don't know, like all athletes, but especially para-athletes, are sponsorships. Keeping yourself kind of going, you have to juggle a job and sport, which is it is a challenge, So I definitely think sponsorships for me have been a challenge, but it's not something that, you don't come over. I mean, that's why I also say, you do this because you love it. You don't do it for gain. Just sponsorships do make life easier. I would definitely say I don't really. There aren't many other challenges that I can really think about for me. Coordinating everybody's schedule sometimes becomes challenging because I have two guides and myself, and then we need to consider everybody's schedule on how training is going to go and what we're going to do. But other than that, not really. I grew up fortunately with really a great parents and really a great family, and I have a really great support structure. So for me, they mitigate my challenges to a large extent.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your family? Because they are so important to success, especially sporting success.
I have a mom and a dad. So my mom is a teacher and my dad is a farmer. And then I have a younger sister. She's 4 years younger than I am, and she lives in Kimberley in the Northern Cape, and she's a vet nurse.
Okay, and what did the family say when you started out on this journey and just started getting better? You were making finals, you were making semi-finals, you set world records, then you go to the Paralympic Games in Rio. It doesn't really go according to plan. You have some injuries. What was your family's response, and what really helped? What did they say to you that really assisted?
It's actually interesting. After the event last week, I came back and on the Friday, my coach and I were sitting with my mom and dad and actually just chatting on the Friday night. And I think my parents have kind of, when I started varsity, they've accepted me almost as a runner now. Running is a big part of who I am. And they always, accept the highs and the lows and whatever. And I had a bit of a disappointing World Championships in 2019. And I think my mom was quite excited for that race, and it didn't go according to plan. And then this year, I think it actually came as a big surprise to them, because at no point in the year, because I didn't want to disappoint them, and I didn't want them to feel sad, because I think what often happens is they feel disappointed and heartbreak for us, and then us as athletes, we know that sometimes you just have an off day. And I'd never really discussed with them what I thought we could do. And then so on Friday, my mom says to me, "Yeah, but you didn't tell us you were in that kind of shape." That was quite funny. so I think it actually came as a bit of a surprise to them, but I like the fact that it did, because now they also realize now that sometimes it's your day and sometimes it's not, and this time it was, and really I think it was actually a bit of a shock to them.
Well, actually, somebody else that you shocked with an amazing performance, Blanche Moyler. She is a legend in her own right.
Yeah, I know her. Yeah.
Yes. So she said here on Facebook, she said, "Lizanne, keep inspiring. We watched you run 10,000 meters on the track in Pretoria. It was probably 2018 with athletes that have 20/20 vision, finished high up on the results table. Can't remember, maybe third or fourth. Impressive time. Amazing results indeed. Halala, halala."
Thanks so much, Blanche. I met her. I had the privilege of meeting her at a G Sport event. I think it was that same year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blanche was the first Black Springbok. Well, at that time, that was before we had a proper democratic sport during the old dispensation. During apartheid, she was actually the first Black African lady to receive then Springbok colors, and an amazing not only athletics legend but also legend in KwaZulu-Natal. I mean, just how important is it to have those people that are inspiring, that assist along the way? Because it seems to me that more and more when I ask people who their role models are, they say, I don't necessarily have one, but there's like lots of people that I take stuff from. Is it similar for you, Lizanne?
It definitely is. There are definitely I don't have one per se. I definitely also agree. I have quite a few people I take things from, and it's not necessarily only sporting people. It sounds very cliched, but the other day my mom actually asked, because there was one of her learners in class who wanted to do an oral or something on me, which was really cute. And then my mom.
How old are the kids?
The kids are grade 9.
Okay.
So then my mom sent me some of the questions, and one of the questions was, who is your role model? And I actually said my mom. And my mom was like, oh, don't lie, it's not me. But it really is. And it's not even, that she's a sporting legend, but just the way she does things in her own life is inspirational to me.
Yeah, Cheryl, who's been that person for you, the role model? Or you can give us the group of people that you really take things from and it really inspire you.
To give you a group would be difficult, because I kind of find inspiration in everybody. I train with a bunch of teenagers from the high school here, and I love training with them, and I love to see how they develop and keep on doing what they're doing and overcome their challenges. So they inspire me. My parents inspire me. My brothers inspire me. My gran inspires me. She's 90 something, and when I came back from the Paralympics, my cousin got married. My gran was quite an accomplished ballerina, and in her 90s she stood on the side of the dance floor, hoping and praying that somebody would take her by the hand and just dance. And when my father took her for a dance, you could see her become a girl again and live out that same passion she had when she was a young woman. And it's amazing to see stuff like that. It inspires me to keep going.
Well, that's really beautiful, and also speaks to the nature and the character of being just conscious enough to pick up those moments, being aware enough and present enough to be able to take those moments of inspiration and see the beauty in them. Bianca, for you, who would you say is your big role model?
I'm going to have to agree and say I look up to people maybe who have overcome personal tragedies more than necessarily a sport victory, for example, because sport is easy compared to life, right? So I think like the rest of the panel today, I think moms or strong women, my gran and my mom, probably the two that stick out for me, mainly because I've lived through their personal victories alongside them, so I saw it firsthand. And it's people who overcome victories when there's no one watching, when there's no crowd, audience, podium, incentive at all. So I think I can agree with Cheryl and Lizanne to say the strong female figures in my family, for sure.
Speak to us a little bit about your family, Bianca. I know that you've endured some terrible heartache and personal tragedy. Do you want to share a little bit with us, like just how important the family has been?
It's good to share. I lost my father a few years ago, so I think that was my first personal hiccup. And then during COVID, my mom was actually diagnosed with 2 types of cancer. So she went through chemo, and we were going to the hospital and back during the lockdown. But she's overcome that by hook or by crook, genade en gebed. With grace and prayer, she's overcome that. And just being on the inside circle and seeing her just like with every doctor's appointment, the anticipation for the test results, and I just feel like it really brings a family close together. But we all have our heart aches. I'm sure we can share for the next 3 days about our personal heart aches, but I feel like she didn't let any of that get her down, and she's a very optimistic individual. So her optimism is contagious. I think I owe a lot of my sporting success to her never say never, like die-hard attitude. Because I'm a bit more of a realist, where she thinks she can take on the world, which is amazing.
So you were dealing with your mom having to go through chemo while you were in Tokyo?
No, before, so 2020.
Okay, wow. And
2021.
you were, yes, yeah, okay, well, guys, you know, I don't know about you, but like, man,
No,
for the last 2 years, it feels like
big
time
rush.
just
It was a terrible one, but it happened, unfortunately.
Yeah, sure. And so your mom was completely clear by the time you got to Tokyo. Was there any like thought of doing it for her?
She's not cured. It's a long story. I won't get into details, but yeah, big motivation. And when they announced that there were no parents or family members allowed to come, she was very much upset, which I can understand. So I was on video call with them for the majority of my 24 hours in Japan per day. So no, it's been a huge motivation, and I think I can speak on behalf of all of us in saying that the protest in South Africa and the negative kind of vibe that was going on in the country. Also, when I got onto the plane, it was just like KwaZulu-Natal was burning down, and I just knew for my mom's sake and for my sake and for our country's sake, I really felt like I needed to contribute to some good news, because jeepers, there's not much of it, is there? And I'm a big fan of South Africa. I'm proudly South African. I've traveled all over the world, lived abroad, and nothing compares to this country. So I'm very much an activist, and yeah, no time for negative talk. If you can't solve it or bring a solution, then rather just keep it to yourself. But yeah, I would say tragedy really does fuel the motivation to succeed, because you feel like you're carrying not only yourself but a few others along the road to success, and a bit of a break in their reality for a moment.
Yeah. I actually want to ask you about the Olympic Games, but I think we'll get there, because I actually haven't chatted to Cheryl about her family and about the important people in her life. So you want to tell us a little bit about your family and the support structure? I mean, you mentioned just how important your physio was in getting you onto the track, and saying that she puts her hat in the ring when you ever decide that you want to go to the Paralympic Games. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the family?
Yeah, no, so my parents, my dad's a farmer, and he's also a great inspiration. He works very hard, and I think for him it was also a great opportunity for me to go to the Paralympics. I think for them it was hard. They were also very athletic, and very involved in sport. So as I said, I played polo cross growing up, but my start in polo cross was delayed because they were afraid that I would get hurt. So I think he always felt guilty for not allowing me to play sooner. So for him to see me succeed in the Paralympics in athletics was a really proud moment for him. And yeah, I have seen him take the farm from complete destruction and bankruptcy after the 2000 floods to a now very productive farm. And because of its success, he could help me finance whatever international competitions I had to go to actually qualify for the Paralympics. And my mom is how can I say, if you want to take someone to war, take your mother with you, because they are very dangerous people. So I love my mother, and I think she'll be on every plane and every battlefield with me, because I just know she's going to pray me through, or pray us through, whatever storm is coming. And yeah, I have two brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother, because people always think I'm the youngest. I don't know why. I'm in the middle. But yeah, I love my brothers to bits, and I have some great moments with them, where they have inspired me and carried me through when I didn't believe I could. Yeah.
So now I understand why sometimes you're a little bit media shy. You got that middle child syndrome where you don't like to talk too much because it's either the older child that's doing all the talking on everybody's behalf, or it's the younger child that is making the noise for everyone. Maybe. Cheryl, what farm do your parents have? Is it the tomatoes that I love?
No. So we have a farm on the Soutpansberg Mountains, where we grow mostly macadamia nuts, and avocados.
Ah, lovely. Those beautiful avos that everybody always asks you. Whenever you say, I'm going to Limpopo, they say, oh, please, can you bring me some avos? the massive, massive avos.
Yeah.
So, Bianca, can you tell us what was the turning point in Tokyo? Because I want to talk a little bit about the competition. I mean, you were up against Stephanie Gilmore, number 5 in the world, and then all of a sudden the headlines scream, outsider Buitendag knocks out Australia's hope of winning a medal. Was that the real turning point for you? I mean, what happened during that heat?
So I don't think there was a turning point. I was just so surprised every time I made a round that by the time I got to the podium, I didn't believe it was me standing there. So I must say it was a surprise to me, my family. I think they were like looking at the results four times before they believed it. But I think so. There was no turning point, but I think what I can attribute it to is the fact that I came in 17th seed out of 20, so that's third last. No one expected anything of me, which is a fantastic place to be in. I think South Africans, we love being the underdogs. We're always up for a challenge. And my coach and I were catching the bus from the village every day for about 2 hours to the beach. And all the first world countries obviously staying in hotels on the seafront. And they would come down to the beach with like 6 physios, 3 managers, 4 coaches, and like their kit. And every time I just saw them cross me, I was like, I'm going to take you down. So I think being South African and struggling more than maybe people from more advantaged countries come from, that really adds to it. So being the underdog, being up for a challenge, because that's in my blood as a South African, and the fact that a typhoon hit Japan the day of the finals, so the sea was very much challenging. It was breaking all over the show, torrential rain, wind, and I just felt like my size. I'm a head taller than any other girl, so I think my size also attributed to the success. But more than that, it was a miracle, and I saw it happen in front of me, coincidentally to me. So there was definitely divine intervention, and I'm not going to take credit where credit is not due. So.
Why do you call it a miracle, though? Because you are a really good surfer.
I'm a good surfer, but I'm not second in the world, and it really was a miracle. That I can promise you. Like, I will take it to my grave.
So tell us a little bit about that final, because, I mean, besides the fact that it looked as if it was an ocean that you shouldn't even be swimming in, I mean, at the time that the final was, you had to go and actually surf and put on a decent performance and actually try and get some waves. I mean, what were you thinking when you were sitting there in the back line, like trying to look for a wave, trying to look for something to catch in that washing machine?
So we usually do warm-up surfs before the event. So we've got about half an hour to go and test the waters, quite literally. And I couldn't even make it to the back. It was too big. So I tried twice and I just got washed out. So that was the start of my finals there. No, that was not even the start. I missed the bus, and then the second bus didn't come. So I almost didn't get to the beach. Then I paddled out for the warm-up and I got washed out twice. That was the start of my finals there. So just to add to the miracle story, that's a few chapters in between. But my coach was looking at the ocean, because we have to study the ocean with tides, winds, swell direction, etc. And my coach was looking at the ocean trying to find a lineup. So it's where you see a consistent amount of waves breaking at one point from the beach. And he came back an hour later. He's like, I can't find anything. You're just going to have to make it work. And then at the Olympics, we have a different format. We start on the beach. And because we normally start in the water, because the currents were so strong, we had to run 500 meters to the left to jump into the ocean so that the current will eventually put us in the right spot. And I don't know if you've ever seen me run, but it's not a pretty picture. And I almost didn't make it to the shoreline. Like, by the time I got to the shoreline, I was like huffing and puffing. And it was a disaster. So I got to the shore. I'm like, okay, I've made it half a kilometer. Now I still need to paddle another 300 meters. It was a nightmare. It was absolute chaos. But I told myself, if I don't crawl out of the water today, I haven't given it enough. So I remember just praying and screaming in between waves to try and get in the back. So this is not so pretty part of competing, but it really, you can understand why I say it was a miracle. It really was.
Yeah. Who are you screaming at?
You know, just I had no fuel left in the tank. I still had to say 20 minutes to go, and I have the possibility of getting a medal, and like these waves are just breaking on my head. So mainly out of frustration. But I didn't catch my breath for half an hour. I was like, underwater, come up, underwater, come up. And a few times I was like a bit dizzy from lack of oxygen, but I made it to the back eventually, and I got the scores. So that's the rundown in the 3 minutes. So it wasn't as pleasant as you would have thought. And then when I made it to the final, it was raining, pouring down with the rain, and my coach is the only person on the beach. He was jumping up and down. So it was a team effort, and but it was difficult, I must add.
Yeah. When you realized that you were going to go up against Carissa Moore, what was the first thing that you thought? In the final, that is.
I didn't have any more energy to think. I think I was just so exhausted after all those 500-meter runs. No, I competed with her a lot. We're both the same age, and we competed ever since my first international contest. I was actually second to her, so at the age of 13. So 15 years later, we're in the final again. So no, she's a dear friend, and if anyone deserves to win, it was her.
Yeah, sure. We were. I remember watching the final and thinking, like, can the ocean just not give you a break? Like, can you just not catch like a nice wave? Because it seemed as if, you know, the selection all went, wave selection anyway, all went Carissa's way, and then, you know, you just weren't able to get that one nice wave. Yeah,
well, I have a feeling that it went my way one too many times coming up to the final, so it was the odds were set to change. But no, it really was. It was tough. Like, it was the most difficult ocean conditions I've ever surfed the heat in. So, but I'm not going to complain because I feel like that gave me the upper hand all the way until the final. So I can't complain when it suits me. But no, it was a big challenge, a physical one, emotional. After you surf 3 heats, you have to surf the final, and no, it's sport. You know, it gets exhausting on all fronts, not only physical. Yeah. But I'm not going to complain about the result. I think I did. I was so happy to make it past the first round, and finishing on the podium was way above my expectations.
So we just had somebody comment on Facebook, Diane, saying that all of you ladies are such an inspiration, and thank you so much for sharing your stories. And there we go. Diane Norton Hayden says, thank you ladies for sharing your stories. You're all beautiful and inspiring. Well done, and everything of the best on the next part of your journey. Okay, so let's get to our Paralympic athletes. Cheryl, so we had the 100, 400, 200 and 400 against a Chinese contingent that traditionally are very strong, but they really, their athletes were very, very strong, and you got to experience that firsthand in your races. Can you just tell us a little bit about your events, and then of course the bronze medal in the 400?
So yes, it's always exciting to be able to compete and getting to know those athletes. I only ever have seen them once, and that was at the World Champs in 2019. They were then strong. They were even stronger at the Paralympics. Yeah, it's great to compete against girls like that. They're also much younger than I am, so that's also something that I have to get over in my head when I compete with those girls. But I had lots of fun being able to just compete against them, and unfortunately, because they are Chinese and Ukrainian and Russian, they don't really speak English, so we kind of nod heads and smile and wave, and that's our communications in the call rooms and after the races as well. Some of my competitors seem a little bit serious about their sport, so they're like these warrior women who will kill everything in their paths. So we kind of stay clear of them, but the Chinese girls are actually quite friendly, and they're great fun to run against. So my 200 final was a blast. I think people were hoping that I would steal a bronze or something in my 200-meter final, but I just laughed because the two girls in front of me hit a wall, and the Chinese girl to the right of me actually gave a bit of a grunt, it was like, as she hit the wall, and I thought for a second or half a second I had a chance, and then I hit the same wall, and I just had to laugh and take fourth place. The 200 meters was fun, and the 400 meters as well. I did everything I could to run the plan that my coach had set out for me, and I just tried to stay with the girls in front of me. And then I hit the 100 meters or the last straight, and my legs were gone. There was nothing left in my legs, and then I just had to stay on my feet, not fall on my face, which is something my brother always tells me, Cheryl, don't fall on your face. I didn't, and I managed to finish with a bronze. So yeah, it was a great experience.
It's quite a schedule that you had. I mean, 100, 200, and 400. That's no joke over a very short period of time, and sometimes in quite challenging conditions, because there was a couple of times where the rain was actually coming down.
Yes. So it was a lot harder for me to do the warm-up, because that was when it was really raining hard. But I actually found the rain not too bad when we were actually racing, and because I run with spikes, I actually enjoyed the feel of the wet track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And tell us about the 2 African records in the 100, because it was in the heats, you broke it the first time, and then you broke it again, and then everybody was hoping that you'd get a medal, and unfortunately finishing in 5th place. How difficult was that? I mean, you've spoken a bit about the 200 ending just outside of the medals there, but I mean, there were 2 races where you were just so close to a medal.
So I think by the time the 100 is by far my worst event. So it was really it was the last event. We figured, okay, well, we'll enter for it anyway, just because we can, and have fun with it. And that's what it was. I was just going out and having fun. It was quite a tight schedule, and I think I felt it in my legs when I ran the 100. And I think all the girls that ran the 400 meter who ran the 100 meter had it in their legs the next day. It was all in all a good experience, and happy for the results.
In that 400 where you won the bronze, did you know that you were going to, did you enter that race knowing that you would win a medal?
Well, I knew I had a good chance. I knew I was a contender. But, on the day, anything can happen. I mean, I could have gone around that bend and fallen on my face, and then that would have been that, So it's anybody's race on the day.
And did you know that a medal was yours when you came into the final straight? When did you kind of say, I'm actually going to be on the podium this time?
No, look, I was always in the running, I think, so I always knew I had a chance from the start when I managed to stay with the 2 girls in front. So yeah, no, it was yeah, I was quite confident that I was at least going to get something. But yeah. As long as I did. Yeah.
As long as you just don't look back and you carry on looking forward.
Yes, and don't fall on your face. Don't trip. Yeah.
Luzanne, when we started this conversation, I said that you won 2 medals, a silver and a bronze medal, in 2 events that people would not naturally double up. You've said already that the world record and the bronze medal in the marathon was a complete surprise to you, but just how did you manage to do it?
I don't know. So it was actually a bit of an experiment. So the experiment was successful, I would say. So at the beginning of the season, the expectation was clear that, you know, if we select you for the team, we are selecting you for a 1.5. We expect a medal in the 1.5. And it was up to very late in the running to up to the games. It was sorry for the pun. It was a conversation on whether the marathon is going to happen and whether I'm going to be doing the marathon or not. And I qualified, so we decided to enter it, you know, as a kind of an experience, just to build experience for future years. And well, what an experience. So the 1.5 definitely, you know, like Cheryl says, it's anybody's race on the day. So you're never sure whether you're gonna get a medal or not. I definitely think the heats broke the ice for me. I'm glad I ran that heat that I did, and I'm glad we ran it the way that we did, because I think I think that really broke the ice for me in a positive way on the track. And then the next day, the final, and then 5 days. It was literally 5 days after that we ran the marathon. So no, it was really, and the marathon really was. There was a lot of grace in the marathon, and I also feel like it was a bit of a miracle.
Let's talk a little bit first about the 1.5 and being able to win that silver with Estienne. Did you guys know that you would go on to win? When did it kind of become a reality, or when did you guys realize that, okay, now this is it? Were you just
we had a game
on
plan?
Estienne? Okay,
we had a game plan. So obviously, you know, with there not being a lot of races, we were running a time trial. So we wanted to be at specific spots on a specific time. Because we also knew, you know, from training, this is what I'm capable of. And whether it's a medal or whether it's a PB and it's lost, you know, when you run a PB or when you swim a PB or whatever, you cannot be not satisfied. I think, well, when we were on that start line for the final, there was 1 or 2 seconds where I thought, shouldn't I just run back into the call room and just go the other way? I was like, well, there was a point where I was like feeling a lot of pressure. But fortunately, I didn't do that.
What was going to be your excuse? I just have to go to the toilet.
I just remember there was one point where I was like, Jenna, nee, moet ek nie omdraai nie.
And then it was like, you just can't. You've gotten this far. You've got to do it now.
And then, you know, then the gun went, and then everybody went. And okay, so we were hitting our splits fine. We were running well, hitting the targets. And I think when we that last lap, the after the bell, there was a point where a girl from Kenya and a girl from Poland were in front of us, and we could feel and see that they wanted to slow down the race so that it would work more in their favor. And I know, because I know my own self, I'm not somebody, I don't want to be involved in a sprint out in the last 300 or 200 meters. So there was a point where Estienne said to me, we must pass now. And we passed. And in that last 300, I after the race, I said to him, I'm so thankful that, because in the last 300, he said to me, okay, you're in second place. If you want to catch Mexico, you need to go now, but you're in second place. So just do what you're doing and we'll be fine. But don't, he told me, yes, any medals. Then I remember afterwards, but I don't remember this in the race. You always talk about fight or flight, your fight or flight response. You also have a freeze response. So I'm a bit of a freezer. And I'm just so glad I didn't freeze at that point, because if I freeze then, I would have been out of the medals again. And I remember there was a point, literally, I think with 250 to go, and he was saying to me, yes, in for the medal, just go. There was a point where I was like, shucks, this is really happening now. And I'm going to be able to do this, because I was feeling pretty strong. And then we ended second. It was very, and I also feel, I also feel like Bianca in a way, what a final to be in. And I'm so kind of, inspired and motivated that the thing that beat me was a world record. So now I need to break the next world record, So I just think the race was honest, and it was a privilege to be in it from the beginning. But yeah, there was actually a few moments that, you laugh at now, but it was intense.
Well, sure. I can't imagine if you were thinking that you wanted to turn around before you won 5. What did you feel when you were sitting at the start line of the marathon then?
I was like, okay, this is going to be a nice run today. So the marathon, okay, so obviously we prepped for the 1.5. So focus really was on the 1.5 for Tokyo. And I'm not even lying now. I think the most Ks we did in a week was like 90. Okay. Wow. And not everybody knows this, but you also are a runner, and you would know, prepping for a marathon with 90 Ks a week, it's not a lot of mileage.
No.
So I was nervous, excited in a way, because I wanted to see how my body would respond to such low mileage. We did a lot of speed work and intervals and stuff, but the mileage was not a lot. And I really think my body responded well, because when we got to the 30K, I said to Klaus, okay, nog net 12 hoor. And when you have a marathon like that, that's great. Then you kind of, and he's the whole time, since I've been training with Klaus since 2015, and the whole time, he actually started irritating me with the way he was always saying, I hope you get a marathon one day where everything just goes your way and everything falls into place. And the marathon has always been a challenging event for me. And I started thinking, oh, Klaus, marathons are not for me. I'm never going to get that marathon. And there I got it in Tokyo.
Wow.
So yeah, the marathon really was, I think, a big shock. I remember afterwards, everybody was telling us how they were following us on the app and on the tracking app, and how when they realized we were third, we were 45 minutes out, and everyone had to rush to the stadium, because now it's a different story. So yeah, and also getting a medal in the marathon, we had a bit of time, during the race to sort of work through the emotions, but there was a point in the marathon where I was crying. It just felt so surreal. And, getting a medal in a combined class, what I mean by that is, so when you have a combined class event, there's two or three classes competing together. So it's the stronger and the weaker classes, and getting a medal in a stronger class, it just makes it so much more special. Yeah, the marathon.
When about did you start crying?
When we passed number 3 and 4, I think So when we turned at about 24 Ks, then you come back. So when we turned, we obviously, before we turned, we saw number 1 and 2, and they were quite close together. And then a minute and a half behind them was number 3 and 4. And then we timed it up to where we turned. So then we realized, okay, we're about 3 minutes behind, which is not a lot in an 18K, but it's also not, we're not going to make it up like in 500 meters. And so we kept our cool, and we kind of like kept our pace, and we ran. I hit a bit of a wall between the 24 and the 28, and after that I was fine again. But then at the 30K mark, when we had a water point there, Klaus said to me, you know what, they are not moving as fast. I'm not sure if they're having tactics with each other in front here, so let's just keep our cool and we'll be fine. And we pass them at the 36. So then they stop at their water point, and we come running, and then we were quiet for a while. Then he said to me, we're going to pass them now when we stopped at our water point. So then they were literally, shame. They had a tough race, and I know how that feels. So I really feel very sorry for them as well. Because if you have a tough day in a marathon, you have a tough day. And then we passed them at about the 32K, and at that point, we were still not sure, are they running slowly because they're checking out each other, or are they running slowly because they're suffering? And then we passed them, and the one tried to come with us, but she didn't. And then we kind of knew, we've got this. And for a while there, we were worried. And I think that's the point where, I got a bit emotional, because then it felt, it was real. It became real. It became a reality. And then we ran for a while, just checking to see whether somebody was going to catch up, but nobody did. Unfortunately, nobody did, because we had a bit of a dramatic end to the whole situation. Klaus cramped. And I remember at the 41, we were almost finished, and I was just so sore. So my body held up well up to the 40, 36, 37 Ks. And then, that last 5K is painful, but having done not a lot of mileage, it was pretty painful. So at the 41K, he said to me, okay, just remain calm, but I'm cramping a bit, so let's just stop. And we had like a gel, and everybody thought, like, why are you stopping and eating, Luzon? You wouldn't believe the messages I got afterwards. People like, why are you eating? There's no time for eating. Because he was the one who suggested the bloody gel, and I was the one on camera eating the gel, and he also was eating the gel, but nobody takes pictures of him, Flip. And then we ran again, and he said, sure, I haven't cramped since my student days. I'm like, this is not the day, buddy. Make it fast.
That's special.
Fortunately, it wasn't a sprint finish. We could finish in peace on our own. And that was the marathon. Really a very, very, very special and cool moment.
So Tolwana Hope says, to Luzon, having been in a race with you at one of the USA country races, I just want to say you're an amazing athlete and a true inspiration.
Thank you so much.
So ladies, just like that, we've actually nearly out of time. So there's about 7 minutes. I'm going to just take this opportunity to give you guys the opportunity to give us closing remarks, and also tell us a little bit about your future plans. So I think we can start with Bianca. Any closing remarks and your future plans?
My closing remarks are what a privilege it is to share the panel with Cheryl and Luzon, and the athletes that couldn't be here today. I must say, surfing has always been an individual sport up until I reached Tokyo. So this team camaraderie, even at the games with Team South Africa, being so supportive and amazing. That's my final remark. And I think I've made my future plans really clear. And I'm very excited. So thanks, girls. It was a pleasure.
Cheryl?
I can just agree with Bianca and say thank you for allowing us this opportunity to speak and to share and to get to know. I enjoyed getting to know Bianca and Luzon a little bit better, and it's been a great pleasure being here with you guys. And yeah, I can't. I'm looking forward to see what happens next. To see what Luzanne does next with her athletics, and what Bianca does with her community projects. To see how everything grows. I'm looking forward to see what South Africa does. Yeah.
Cheryl, Paris, is that on the agenda?
It is on the agenda. It is definitely on the agenda, but we'll take it one day at a time. Yeah.
Just one day at a time. Luzanne?
Yeah, thanks, Valen. I would just, it was really lovely sharing the panel with you ladies. I really enjoyed listening to all your stories, and I know Cheryl from the Paralympic Games and from World Championships a bit better than I did Bianca. So thank you for also sharing with us, Bianca, and allowing us to also, be a part of your journey. It's really been a privilege sharing the panel with you guys, and to the South African Women in Sports Foundation, thank you for having us. I think often, with everything, it gets lost to just thank you guys, and thank the media, and thank everybody for allowing athletes to share their stories, because we've all got, I think we all have such powerful stories, and that somebody can hopefully take something from and add to their own lives. And on panels and webinars such as this, you also get to hear from the audience, and you can also take from their journey. So thank you for having the panel, and for hosting us and celebrating the achievements that the Paralympians and the Olympians achieved. It really means a lot to us. And thank you to you, Valen, for being such a lovely host and facilitating the panel and the webinar. It really was such a great privilege to be here. So thank you to everybody, and thank you to everybody who watched. Thank you for listening to us tell our stories. We appreciate sharing them with you.
Yeah, and thank you to each and every single one of you. You are truly amazing. And one of the hashtags for the South African Women in Sports Foundation during their webinar series, which has now been over a couple of months, has been #No2GBV. And just hearing your stories and hearing the motivation that you guys are within your communities and to your families just helps me realize that this is the reason why we really do need to inculcate this in our society, because when women are supported, they do amazing things. And there is absolutely no space for gender-based violence. There is space and there is a desperate need to support women and to support their passions so that they are able to do the amazing things that they do, and to be the inspirations like you guys are within your spheres of influence. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
So thank you to our viewers, and thanks to those that got involved on social media with getting involved with your comments, with your messages of support for our ladies. And we look forward to meeting once again and to sharing some inspirational stories. From myself, Valen Kirtley, have a wonderful day ahead. Goodbye.